Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sports Nerds in the Morning. It is Monday, right after the draft. We're just about to hit May, and today we're going to be talking about the NFL draft, and that's all we're going to be talking about. I'm Dominic Stern. Today I'm joined by
Caleb Posner,
Josh Golden,
Lad Gaimi,
Jordan Goldman.
So we would like to start off by talking about our mock draft, which we created on the Mockout app. Great app for doing your mock drafts on NBA and NFL. Please sponsor us. So our mock draft, we talked about it on our last podcast, which was posted Thursday morning, the day of the draft. And we had a very good mock draft. If you look in the rankings, we're in the top 5% of mock drafts. So we like to think that we know what we're talking about when it comes to this. And so I'd just like to read off the picks we got right. First pick, Kyler Murray, nailed that. Nick Bosa going number 2, we got that. Devin White going to 5 in Tampa Bay, got that pick. We had Drew Lock going to Denver, but he fell to them in the second round. We had Jawan Taylor going to Jacksonville, fell to them in the second round. We had Christian Wilkins going 13 to Miami. What else did we get? We had Marquise Brown going to the Baltimore Ravens. That was a good pick. We had Josh Jacobs going to Oakland. So that was another great pick. And we had a bunch of other guys that we had going in the first round that some people didn't. We had a bit of a rough stretch from pick 15 to 18 where we had a bunch of guys that we had going in the first round. All of them fell to the second round, but overall, great draft. If you look at the mock-out scoring, we totaled 85 points. You get 1 point if you get them going in the right round. You have 5 points if you get them going to the right team. You get 5 points if you have them in the right pick. And you get 20 points if you projected a trade correctly. So we didn't project any trades correctly, as no one really ever does, because those are impossible to predict, but did a great job. So we're done talking about our mock draft. Let's talk about the draft. And let's talk about, first we'll talk about a pick that we really liked, just like in general. And then after that, we'll talk about who we thought won the draft. We're going to have an open debate with 5 people. So Caleb, we'll start with you. What was your favorite pick of this draft? Could be any team, any round.
favorite pick of the draft. I think it's really hard to come up with one favorite pick. There was a lot of picks that I really, really liked. I'd have to say if we're going for a first-round pick, that was my favorite. I love Dwayne Haskins to the Redskins at 15 because
he slid.
Because he slid. They didn't have to move up to get him.
There were talks of them going up to 3.
Correct. There was talks of them going up to 3 to have to get Haskins. He slides down into their pocket at 15. They don't have to waste any other draft capital to go get a quarterback that I think they would have taken earlier had they had to do that. And I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I think Kyler Murray has the most potential. Right now, Dwayne Haskins, I think, is the best quarterback in the draft. I was not really a fan of any of these quarterbacks going in, but if I had to take one, I'd take Haskins. He's really a raw athlete, just physically gifted, and I think he could be a really good quarterback. Not a fan of Daniel Jones, and I think that Haskins really fits for the Redskins. So the fact that they didn't have to move up to get him makes him my favorite pick in the draft this year.
I agree with you. I think that was a great pick. But for me, there was one pick that really stood out to me, obviously.
I wonder what that is, Josh.
So, we all talked about it on our podcast the other day. The big 3 prospects in this draft were Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, and Josh Allen. Those were clearly the 3 best players in this draft. I think 4th of the entire draft was Ed Oliver, right? And you heard talks Thursday afternoon. Ian Rappaport reported that the Bills are trying to get up to that 3rd spot and maybe try to get Quinnen Williams because we knew the Jets wanted to trade down. I think that was just smoke. Brandon Beane trying to create something to scare some teams. He was really trying to get up into like 6 or 7 to draft Ed Oliver, right? And I think he had something going there to try to get up there. And then he's walking, he sees Kyler, Bosa, Quinnen, and then he sees Cleveland Farrell going 4th overall to the Raiders. He's like, wait, these guys could slide a little bit. So he's just sitting back comfortably watching some of this talent slide down, right? 5, Devin White, that was expected. 6, Giants pull a wild card and they get Daniel Jones, right? That was a real surprise there as well. And we saw, okay, there's a lot of talent left on this board. We know something is going to happen here, and we're going to get a great player down at 9. He sat there patiently. He didn't move up, and he saw Ed Oliver, a great player in this draft, slide down. And not only are they drafting best player available at 9 when the Bills picked up Ed Oliver, they filled a huge, huge need at defensive tackle, replacing the retired Kyle Williams, which I think is going to be so huge for the Bills Defensive tackle was really the only position they didn't fill in free agency that they needed to fill, and I think this was the perfect pick for the Bills, and I think Ed Oliver is just a complete stud.
So I think with my favorite pick, I mean, I think everyone kind of has an idea of which team I'm going to go with. You know, I could pick from Odell Beckham at 17. I actually thought there were some good quarterbacks that went late in the draft that I think could actually exceed expectations. I know
Wait, Odell Beckham at 17?
Yeah, the Browns traded the 17th. The Browns got Odell Beckham with the 17th pick.
A little bit more than that.
Okay,
but yes.
Milan.
Okay, anyway.
We're talking about actual draft.
Okay,
Peppers
no,
and
listen,
the
that's
third
not
round.
okay. I was just saying stuff. That's not my actual pick. So, you know, I know the quarterback class. We talked about it on the last podcast. You know, maybe next year's would be better, and so on and so forth. But I really thought there were some late guys who could show some promise that we don't expect. My favorite pick has to be Greedy Williams. Last week, I really thought the Browns were going to trade into the first round to get him because we all know John Dorsey's done that in the past with guys like Patrick Mahomes, so on and so forth. So for me, I just think it's unfair to have Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams on opposite sides. A lot of people had Greedy Williams as, you know, top 3 corner at least. His slide, I don't know. I don't really understand it. I mean, there are some question marks, but in my opinion, you know, you're looking at 19, 20-year-old guys with question marks. Like, your job as a team is to try and develop these guys. If you trust your ability to develop, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I really loved Greedy Williams. We talked about the Browns' problems with the secondary, how they needed to fix it. Now they have 2 really young corners that are controllable for a long time. I mean, LSU, you got Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, and now
DBU.
Greedy Williams.
DBU.
I love it.
I agree with you, Milad. My pick, we predicted it. It's the Ravens, Marquise Brown. I love that man. He is just out of this world. Okay, he's just amazing. I think he fits Lamar Jackson perfectly. Okay, and their offense and their great defense. Okay, I think they could be a good playoff contending team this year. And I mean, what's there not to love about him? He's just a great player. I think he's going to be the next big thing. I think he's going to be one of the best wide receivers in the league next year.
I agree with you. I said it the other day. I really think that Marquise Brown could be the best offensive player out of this draft class.
Right.
Don't be surprised.
Hollywood!
That kid is a Julian Edelman-style toughness at slot receiver with the speed of Tyreek Hill.
But 10 times better.
It's insane. I've never seen a
Hasn't-
prospect
hasn't-
like Hollywood Brown.
Hasn't played a game in the NFL 10 times better.
He is.
That's a little strong.
No,
but
it's not.
I've
Okay,
never
Jordan.
seen a prospect like Hollywood Brown. I think he could shine.
I have a tie, and it's both the 26th and 27th picks in this draft. The Redskins, they traded back into the first round. 26th pick, they took Montez Sweat, defensive end out of Mississippi State. Probably a top 10 pick if it wasn't for the failed heart condition that was a failed test. So the fact that they got a top 10 player in this draft with a 26th overall pick when nothing might be wrong with him, I feel like it's a great steal.
I just want to stop you right there, though, before you continue on to your next pick. I love this Montez Sweat pick for the Redskins. They traded back into the first round to get him, but I love this trade for the Colts. You know how they nail these second-round picks. Chris Ballard loves these second-round picks, and he picked up not one this year, but one next year as well. It's perfect for him. I love that. Continue.
On the 27th pick, obviously I'm cheating here, doing 2 picks. Gonna make it quick. Abraham fits this Raiders scheme a lot. He's a player that John Gruden loves. And I feel like even though he might not have been the best safety available, Gruden loves him. Reminds me a lot of John Lynch, who helped John Gruden win a Super Bowl back with the Buccaneers. So I really like those 2 picks. Those are my 2 favorite picks. And now that we're done with that, if you thought that we were just not going to talk about our worst picks, you were wrong. Which pick do we like the least? We'll start with Caleb. We'll go back in that same order.
I think it's interesting that you brought up the Raiders had one of your favorite picks because I was sitting there watching the draft. And I just went, all right, Kyler Murray 1 predicted. Nick Bosa 2 predicted. Quinnen Williams 3 predicted. All right, Josh Allen's about to be a Raider. And then Roger Goodell steps up to the podium and says with the 4th overall pick in the 2019 draft, the Oakland Raiders select Clelin Ferrell. And my mind just did a 360 because Cleveland Farrell on most mock drafts and by most GMs was projected to be a late first round pick, anywhere from 15 back to even the late 20s. And you took him 4th overall. I don't have a problem with taking Cleveland Farrell. He's a great defensive player when he's at his best. The problem is inconsistency. The biggest problem I have with this pick, though, and why it's my least favorite pick, is you easily could have traded back, obtained more draft capital, and still gotten Cleveland Farrell.
Correct.
Easily.
So you're saying value-wise you don't like the pick, but not that he's, a bust.
Correct. It's not that Cleveland Farrell's a bust. Cleveland Farrell's going to be a solid defensive player.
I think he would have been a steal in the late teens. I really like Cleveland Farrell. I think he could be a stud.
Correct.
But I think 4 was a big reach for Farrell.
It was a huge reach, and the value is just not there, especially with the other defensive players on the board. If you love Farrell, Farrell's your guy.
Trade back 10 spots.
Exactly. Trade back 10 spots and go get even more draft capital. You've shown that you're willing to give up your star guys to go for draft capital. As a Bears fan, hand Khalil Mack to us.
Yep.
Right? It's just, it's boggling to me how you can give up Khalil Mack and refuse to pay him. And then you want to get a replacement for Khalil Mack. And instead of drafting a stud, if you want to get depth, great. Instead of drafting a stud at 4, you don't trade back and draft a solid player with potential, but a solid player. I just don't like it. The Raiders confuse me. They do one really bad thing, then followed by a good thing. They go get Antonio Brown for a 3rd round pick.
That's if you
Bag of
consider
chips
getting
in the
Antonio Brown a good thing. But yes.
It is a good.
I think it is a good
I
think it is.
strongly
It's a great
disagree
thing.
with that, but yes.
We'll discuss that
We
later.
can discuss that
so
another
good.
time. I think it's a good thing. And then they have the 4th overall pick. They have 3 first-round picks. You're expecting them to make this huge splash, get a star player and some more depth, and they draft Cleveland Farrell. I don't like it.
I'm going to slightly disagree. I think, if they could have traded back and still gotten Farrell and gotten the capital, that's an ideal situation, right? My issue is, their scouting department obviously felt that Farrell was the best guy in that position.
Well, their
okay?
scouting department didn't. That's why they sent their scouting department home. But yes.
Well, the point is this.
Let's just keep in mind here, a few days before the draft, the Raiders literally sent their entire scouting department home.
Because John Gruden is an instant
has gone
guy.
rogue.
That's what I'm trying. That's why I also don't like this pick. I get what you're trying to say. It's a John Gruden pick. It's not even a Mayock pick.
Okay.
No, I think it's both. I think it's both of them. But they've gone rogue.
Here's my main point. He's a Hendricks Award winner, right? That's given to the best defensive end in college football. Okay. If you
And
look
Tim
at the
Tebow
other
was
guys,
a Heisman winner. You're
Okay.
winning an award at college football.
look,
doesn't
my
mean
point is
anything.
there's guys like Jadeveon Clowney, Bradley Chubb was last year's winner. Okay, so I don't know if you can necessarily call this a bust. I'll make an example
I
out
didn't
of that
call it a bust.
situation of picking him at 4. Okay, in last year's draft, a lot of teams thought, and even in previous year's draft, there'll be a quarterback who guys will think, oh, he's gonna drop. And then on draft day, everyone gets really high on him and takes him 1st overall. That's what happened with Baker. After that draft, I was one of the first people who said, hey, maybe they could have traded that pick or gotten Saquon at 1 and then Baker at 4, right? You never know what would have happened. And I assume they didn't think that, obviously
Look,
they couldn't trade back.
I'm gonna
or
jump
they
in right
would've-
here.
or
Look.
They would have done so.
I think Cleveland Farrell's a stud. I think he's going to be a great player. I agree with you that they reached it 4.
Yeah.
But I think calling this your least favorite pick of the draft is a bit of a stretch. I think it was definitely not a smart pick at 4, but I think Cleveland Farrell is going to be great for the Oakland Raiders, and it's not a big deal.
Here's the thing. I was just going to let one of you guys take the Daniel Jones disaster because I
Correct.
thought that was too
Okay,
easy.
fair.
Because I thought that was too easy.
Yeah.
If you want me to go there and give 2, I would have taken the Daniel Jones pick in a heartbeat. I was just
Correct.
trying to do something from my
Okay,
person
correct.
because I think every single football fan thinks the Daniel Jones pick, including every
Daniel
Giants
Jones
fan
was
out
graded
there.
as a 3rd-round draft selection,
Correct.
and he went 6th overall.
He was not even the 4th. I would.
Dave Gettleman literally said that missing on quarterback in the top 10 sets your franchise back 5 years, yet he still drafted Daniel Jones 6th overall.
Daniel Jones
Well-
would have been there at their 17th overall pick. And that's not even the worst part about
Yeah.
it. He's worse than Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah,
I
Dwayne
like
Haskins.
Drew Lock more than I like Daniel Jones.
I liked Ryan Finley more than Daniel
Look,
Jones.
I agree.
here's the thing. I don't want to just sit here and bag on Daniel Jones because he's never played a single snap
Exactly.
in the NFL,
Yep.
and he's got a lot of potential, and he's very raw.
Mhm.
But you know who else we said had a lot of potential and was very raw? Paxton Lynch.
And look where he is now.
Paxton
where
Lynch
he
had a
is
much
now.
better college career than Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
Like we're talking about David and Goliath here.
Correct.
And again,
That was also at
He-
Memphis.
here's
but
the-
yes.
Are we assuming he'll sit his first season? Like
Yes.
he won't play
Correct.
a game
Yes.
unless Eli gets
Correct.
injured. So there is potential there. We don't know.
Yes, but
Their
There's a
offensive
question.
line isn't great though.
There's a
Eli
difference
could get
between-
hurt.
There's a difference between saying when Patrick Mahomes came out of the draft, everyone said this kid's a raw, natural, talented guy. His
Same with
biggest
Josh
problem,
Allen.
He also fell.
Listen,
when he shouldn't have.
his biggest problem was decision making and footwork.
They said the
So
same thing about
sitting
Josh
for
Allen.
a year helped him in his decision making footwork. Daniel Jones' problem is accuracy. Please tell me how sitting for a year is really going to improve his accuracy
It
that
will.
much.
Because
Sitting for a
accuracy
year
comes with
improves-
footwork.
Right.
Yeah.
Accuracy comes with proper footwork. That's exactly what happened with Josh
And-
Allen. He worked with what's his face? I can't remember. David Carr to work on it. Not David Carr. He worked with Jimmy Clausen to work on his footwork. He worked on his footwork. It was a lot better this season than it was at Wyoming, and that's why he was a lot more accurate this season.
Okay,
Eli Manning is going to teach him
Yeah.
proper footwork, and I think he will be much more improved than he was in his college days. There's still a lot more room to grow for Daniel Jones.
he's in my opinion at least he's a worse version of Eli Manning. They drafted an Eli Manning replacement.
I think
Which if you're trying with Saquon Barkley, if you're trying to create a modern NFL offense, I don't like the Kyler pick either. I don't think Kyler is going to be a star quarterback in the NFL, but we can get more into that later. But at least Kyler has the potential to run a modern NFL offense.
Yep.
Versus Daniel Jones, who's a statue, who's a worse version of what they already have, and what they already have has not gotten them anywhere.
I think the reason why I can see why this is the worst value pick, or someone could say, this is their least favorite pick, is because you have to wait 2 to 3 years to figure out if this is going to happen.
Correct.
He's not. First off, he has to sit behind Eli, right?
Which
so
is fine.
which is okay. I mean, Mahomes did it behind Smith, so on and so forth. But my problem is 2 years from now is going to be when we're actually going to have to find out if he's good or not. And if he busts then, real quick, then I think I agree with you. It's the worst pick possible. But it's a tough pick because you do have to wait about 2 to 3 years to figure out
Correct,
where he's
yeah.
actually going to be at.
All right,
All
Josh.
right, I'm going to jump in here. Look, here's my philosophy for first-round draft picks, especially with positions where you don't have a lot of guys playing. For a position like offensive line, it's different, or cornerback, defensive end, whatever. But when it's just one guy on the field, especially, you should not be taking that position high in the draft often. In 2014, with the 10th overall draft pick, the Detroit Lions selected Eric Ebron.
He caught 12 touchdowns for them.
He caught 12 touchdowns for them, and now he's wearing a different jersey. Now at the 8th overall pick, for a team that has a lot of needs out there, a team that I don't think is very good, they go out there and they draft TJ Hawkinson, tight end out of Iowa, who I think is a decent prospect. But
I think he's better than decent. I think he's the best tight end in this draft.
yes, he is the best tight end in this draft. But, I mean, come on.
To be
You
fair,
just drafted tight ends in the first round. This is admitting we've done a lot wrong in the last few
Yeah.
years. There's a lot wrong with our organization, and we need a tight end to help Matthew Stafford. No, you need an offensive line to help Matthew Stafford. You need more receivers. Get him a real freaking running back for once in his career. Just give him a shot. Tight end is not what's going to help him.
Well,
You saw with Eric Ebron.
And
Ebron
Tight end
had
is
a
not what's
great
gonna help
season
him.
last year.
yes,
Correct.
but
Not with the Lions.
Kerryon Johnson, I believe, is their first good running back.
I think
agree.
Kerryon
I agree.
Johnson.
I love Kerryon Johnson, but I still think you need to get him more in the backfield.
Yes, and as I've said on the last podcast, no ever need to draft a tight end. I told Josh,
Mhm.
hey, you could say TJ Hawkinson was your worst pick. I'll find something else, but that was my
Look,
least favorite pick. As well.
Here's my thing. You can say that an offensive line is a quarterback's best friend. You can say a star receiver, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, whatever, is a quarterback's best friend. Maybe a reliable tight end or a receiver. But a great running game is truly a quarterback's best friend, because if you can hand the ball off and just stand there and the offense is producing, that means that when you put the ball down and you pull it away, the field is just so much more open for you to throw the ball to whoever and eat. It can be any receiver in the NFL. You can have any offensive line in the NFL. If your run game is working efficiently, then it's so much easier for you to throw the ball effectively. And when the Detroit Lions still have not figured out their running back situation, they still don't have a great offensive line, and there's a lot wrong with that offense. I don't think TJ Hawkinson is the right draft pick.
Do you think wide receivers is a problem with their offense?
I think everything's a problem with their offense,
Except
except for
Matthew.
Matthew Stafford.
Correct.
But they think Matthew Stafford's the problem too for some reason, which I don't understand.
I thought their wide receiving core is good.
But they
fine.
lost Golden Tate. Marvin Jones is their number one, or
Galladay.
Galladay. Yes, they've.
It's solid. It's not the
Yeah.
biggest team need, but
It's not the biggest
They don't
team.
have a number one receiver.
Correct.
Not to mention their defense was pretty subpar.
Correct.
At least on the back end.
Mhm.
It's just
Subpar
seriously
considering their head coach was a defensive coordinator.
Correct.
of the Patriots.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, especially not to mention their rival, the Green Bay Packers, drafted Jay Sternberger with the 75th pick, and he won the John Mackey Award for best college and
Yeah.
tight end
Mhm.
with Kellen Mond at quarterback.
Absolutely.
Like,
I
what,
just
what else do you want? You can't try and justify taking TJ Hawkinson at the 8th pick, to me.
I agree.
Malad, what was your least favorite pick in this draft?
Okay, so we all know there is a team who picked a kicker in the second round a few years ago. That man,
And now he is interning for the PGA.
that man is currently, with all the money that he's made on practice squads and getting contracts and getting cut before the season starts, has taken that money and is now an intern, like you said, at a PGA organization, and now has a love of
Look.
golf.
Look, let's put it this way. Roberto Aguayo is the greatest kicker in the history of college football. You can't argue that.
I won't argue that.
But he sucked in the NFL.
I agree with you.
Continue.
This same team, knowing this, that they, maybe they're not the best at scouting kickers and they shouldn't pick him in the second round. Maybe that's a good hint for them. Decided to pick a guy who went to the University of Utah as a kicker named Matt Gay at number 145. Okay, that was the 145th pick. Okay, let's just remember that the GM of the Bucks said, quote, "Kicker's a very important position" after that draft. Okay, let's just remember that. Okay, they also apparently have a
Milad's
coach.
the only person in the entire world who will pick a 5th round selection of a kicker as their least favorite pick in the draft.
They also have a coach who said he believes in kickers and the importance of it and stresses it. Let me just say that the
Who they have taken
Buccaneers,
for them last year? Who was it?
no one
It
knows
was
and
Jason
no one
Myers.
cares.
I don't know.
Who even cares?
Here's my
Chandler,
point.
No, it was Chandler Catanzaro.
Oh,
Here's my point. A team like the Buccaneers, who thought they had two quarterbacks but really had none. A team in the Buccaneers
Can we get
Who
Milad
couldn't
stand-up
even-
comedy, please?
who couldn't even score the football now thinks they need a kicker because their offense is going to be that explosive. Okay? So
Oh my god.
Milad,
that was my least favorite pick in this draft.
Milad,
I challenge
this
you
is
to
why-
find a better one.
Milad,
That was beautiful. I loved
Milad, I want you to start your own podcast where you just put a microphone in front of you and talk for like an hour.
I
love
don't want to
to.
hear about the Browns that
That's
much.
what the Will Kane show is.
That is what the Will Cage show is.
Yeah, I mean, to put it into perspective, the best kicker in college football last year.
Was he even the best kicker available?
No,
I don't
no.
even know that.
No, let me finish. Cole Tracy, kicker for LSU, only missed one kick all year, made 2 game winners, undrafted free agent, goes to the Green Bay Packers, who need a kicker. That's how you fill a need. Okay, in the draft, in those
Bears signed John Bear in the
Yes.
second.
in those middle round picks, you draft guys that in skill position or beef and potatoes positions.
Meat
Meat and
Meat and
potatoes.
potatoes.
My bad. To add depth, to like replace guys when they retire or leave for free agency. You don't draft kickers.
And here's the thing for me. You
So
said
you
they
draft
took
kickers in the second round instead.
You said they took Matt Gay, 145th overall.
He won the Lou Goza Award in 2017. This is your draft pick at 145.
I
Cole
think-
Tracy won that award this year.
No. Schmidt won that award for Syracuse.
Ah,
I think 25 picks later, the Cleveland Browns got a better kicker in Austin Seibert.
I'm
just
not
gonna throw
saying
that out there.
don't
I think
draft a
Austin
kicker.
Seibert is a freaking beast.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying don't draft the kicker. I'm just saying, if anyone should not be drafting a kicker, it
It's
is this
Tampa.
franchise. I mean,
You're right. You're right.
When Robbie Gold was available or any of these veteran kickers, they should have thrown all the money they had and got him because there's no purpose, in my opinion.
I agree with you.
All right.
Look, Brady was picked in the 6th round, right? I see 2 quarterbacks who were selected afterwards that would do a much better job than Jameis Winston or whoever's going to replace him
Who are
halfway through the
Who
season.
are those quarterbacks?
Tyree Jackson.
Clayton Thorson
Okay.
and Easton Stick.
All right.
Tyree Jackson. Dude's raw. Let him sit for a little
Shut
bit.
up.
He'll learn.
Shut up.
Josh, stop talking.
Jordan, who's the
Jordan,
worst pick
tell
in
us
this
about
draft?
Kyler
All
Murray.
right, well, tough to go after that one. But my least favorite, not the worst, obviously, is Kyler Murray.
We're going
Okay.
from 145 to 1 here.
Yeah. I'm sorry. As a Cardinal fan, I feel like I'm obligated to speak on this topic. But in my opinion, I think that drafting Kyler Murray, I said it last week on the previous podcast, was not a great idea. Obviously, great player, a lot of potential. He's going to be great for him. But I think that, it's just a waste having Josh Rosen on the team, and then now you draft him, or now you trade him to the Dolphins, and I just think it's a waste. You could draft Bosa. I thought that was a great pick. If this draft, I think you would draft Bosa. I think that would be great. Or Quinnen Williams, add to their defense. But no, they draft Kyler Murray, and then they throw away Rosen. They throw away their pick from
For a
last year.
2nd rounder?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
First
literally
rounder.
traded.
Odell went for a 1st round.
They traded a 10th overall pick.
Yeah.
For a 2nd round pick.
Look, here's the thing I want to jump in on before we get further into this. I just need to address this. The Cardinals had a great draft. I love Byron
They did,
Murphy.
actually, yeah.
I think Andy Isabella's a stud. I think Hakeem
Mhm.
Butler's a stud. They got some steals in Deontay Thompson at safety and Lamont Gaillard at center. They got some great draft picks right here. And I think Kyler Murray at 1 is definitely an upgrade over Josh Rosen. But I don't think that's an upgrade talent-wise. I think that's an upgrade scheme-wise. And are you really that invested in a coach that just got fired from Texas Tech?
Right.
That's just something that will never make sense to me.
Well, what I want to say
That's simple.
also is it's really just looking awful from a whole management
Right.
standpoint because look at the players that were available in the 2018 draft at 10. 2 Pro Bowlers, Derwin James and Leighton Vander Esch. Marcus Davenport, Vita Vea, even
They also gave up a 3rd-round pick to get up to 10. They were at 15.
Correct.
And both Derwin and Vander
Well,
Esch
they're
were
at
available
17 and
at
2.
15.
Yep.
15 too.
Don't even forget Darius Leonard. Who
I was about to say
he was
Darius
an
Leonard.
All-Pro. Like,
Exactly.
he was an All-Pro.
I was literally about to say Darius
yeah,
Leonard.
yeah.
So I just think that it's not only does it burn that they took Kyler Murray
Mhm.
and then traded Josh Rosen for a 2nd round pick, it just shows that last year's draft was a loss.
Mhm.
Just an utter loss.
My small argument for the idea of picking Kyler, right? Okay, look. They brought in Cliff Kingsbury. Whoever brought in Cliff Kingsbury
Made a big mistake.
it's their fault, unless they also thought
Correct.
it was Rosen who's the problem. Because you brought in Cliff Kingsbury. Everyone should have known from day one that they were going to pick Kyler because
Correct.
of that. There was
Correct.
the only reason. You're not going to pick Kingsbury as your coach and then not take Kyler. So they took Kyler, right? Now they don't believe in Rosen. Obviously, they couldn't get enough for him. They had to settle for it with a 2nd rounder. What I will say, though, is they went and they got 2 good wide receivers. They went and they got some solid offensive linemen. They went and they got solid pieces. So they're kind of all in on Kyler, and they at least built around him. They're not dumb enough
I agree.
to go get Kyler and then not give him the help that
Right.
fits the system.
I just need to say real quick while we talk about this Josh Rosen to Miami trade. Miami pulled off the power move of the century. A few hours before the 2nd round started, Schefter and Rappaport were releasing talks. Miami's going to trade the 48th overall pick for Josh Rosen, right? We get to the draft, still nothing yet. We get to the 48th pick, still nothing yet. We see the 48th pick get traded. Okay, here it is. The New Orleans Saints are on the clock. What in the world is going on? They traded that 48th overall pick for the 62nd pick in this year's draft and a 2nd round pick in 2020. So they picked up an extra 2nd rounder just to get to that 62nd overall pick that they used to trade for Josh Rosen.
Correct.
Insane.
But
Correct.
Insane power move by the
Okay.
Dolphins organization.
okay, you guys,
Unreal.
You guys are Rosen believers, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I absolutely love
Okay,
Josh Rosen,
you're-
and I
I'm
now
really
hate
not.
that I have to root
You're a
against
Rosen
him.
believer.
I'm a
Josh.
Rosen believer,
Millard, Josh can back me up here. Since before last year's draft, I've been saying I think Josh Rosen's a bust.
I agree with you. So now that you guys believe in Rosen, right? What is he going to do in Miami that's better than Arizona?
Nothing, 'cause
How
Miami has
how does
nothing
he
Correct.
succeed?
He's being
How
set
does
up to
he
fail
succeed?
again.
I think he'll be an average quarterback.
No,
I don't
you're
think
wrong.
he'll be a great quarterback. I think he'll be an average quarterback.
Josh Rosen
That's
was
why-
the worst
I don't see a
quarterback.
That's
better
why I do.
situation in Miami than Arizona. I don't see the wide
I
receivers.
agree with you.
I don't
I
see
agree
the
with
talent.
you, and I think it's terrible. I think he got screwed again. Hashtag free Josh Rosen.
So let me say this. Let me say this about the comparison between Arizona and Miami. The weapons around Josh Rosen are about the same as last year. However, I feel like the O line in Miami is significantly better
Yes.
than in
Yes.
Arizona.
Who's,
So
who's
that'll-
their running back?
Kalen Balaj or Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake.
Okay.
Kenyon Drake.
Johnson's
They'll be a nice one too.
Yeah. It's a
So-
solid duo.
So if you have a better running game because David Johnson's still hurt, he's not
Right.
100%, and you have a better offensive line, it makes it a little easier. Yes, the weapons are. They
And
might
also,
be
let's
worse.
not undervalue the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be a great mentor to him.
Correct, because Sam Bradford and
I smell Tampa Bay over there. That's just me. I think Fitzpatrick is going to come in and relieve him. Everyone's going to think it's Fitz magic, and then we're going to find out that neither of them are actual
I think
quarterbacks.
Dolphins fans still want to tank for Tua. That's what I think.
It's the
to be
curse
honest.
of Florida, Milwaukee.
I'm telling you,
Go from Tampa
they
Bay
shifted-
to Miami.
They shifted from Tampa Bay to Miami. It's the same thing. You have Rosen, a young quarterback, just like Winston. Okay, maybe Winston runs a little bit better, whatever. Rosen's going to probably start. Something's going to happen. Fitzpatrick is going to come in. He's going to get you like 60 fantasy points each week for like 3 weeks. And then you're going to say, wow, Miami doesn't have a quarterback. Who are they going to get in
Ryan
next year's draft?
Fitzpatrick is the best quarterback in the history of NFL Septembers. You can't argue with that. Just look at his stats in September. It's insane.
he had the,
the
Bills
dude
4-0,
He
right?
had the Bills 4-0 like 3 times. The dude literally has like an 800 win percentage in September.
I
It's insane.
think this guy's
I love just having fun with you guys.
I
on
think
this
this guy's
podcast.
going to have a great retirement fund because he's going to milk his career getting these 4-0 starts.
Yeah, dude, when you're 40 years old and you have that insane
Or-
beard and that swag, go get lit in Miami, bro.
Or he's going to be one of the best offensive coordinators in football.
All right.
Those are your two options.
All right.
God.
So I need to talk about who is my worst pick in this draft, so
Josh
we can
Rosen's
move on to our big debate. Worst pick this draft for me that wasn't T.J. Hawkinson or Daniel Jones, because I think we can all agree like that was the worst pick.
Yeah.
Sean Bunting, cornerback out of Central Michigan, going to Tampa Bay, 39th pick.
Tampa Bay. We have 2 Tampa Bay picks.
I'm surprised you picked that guy over Matt Gay, to be honest with you.
Here, I'll explain why in a couple words. Trayvon Mullen, Joe Juan Williams, Greedy Williams. Those are all cornerbacks that were taken after Sean Bunting that I think are honestly way better. And Tampa Bay, their defense last year was atrocious because the Tampa Bay offense, at least, they put up good amount of points. Like, I know we're giving them a bunch of crap.
No, their
because-
offense was one of the best, and
Yes.
Todd Monken is now gone. So now it's a vacuum over there of nothing. They have absolutely nothing in Tampa Bay. We just went around and had 2 people say their worst pick went to the Buccaneers.
What in the world is going on in Tampa?
Tomorrow it's going to come out that they're going to lose like one of their star players to some other domestic. It's like the Chiefs.
Mike Evans tears ACL.
Sorry, not to joke about domestic abuse. It's just sorry. I want to talk about the Chiefs for a second. What is going on
Press
in
F
Kansas?
for Tyreek Hill.
No, what is going on in Kansas City? Can they please get some like therapists in their locker room to like teach these guys how to be moral human beings? Sorry to interject that real quick. I wasn't trying to joke about domestic abuse, but it just seems that all these talented guys, they have talent and they have no morals. So sorry to interject that. Continue back to Tampa Bay being a vacuum
Yeah,
of nothingness.
so I mean, you could go up there and say Tampa Bay had one of the worst drafts.
Yeah.
I mean, other than
I
the
bet
fact
they wish they had Gruden back, to
they
be
had
honest with you.
they had Devin White, who I think is going to be one of the best players out of this draft. But other than that, they had some bad picks, man.
Mhm.
So, anyways, let's move on. So, we're gonna have a debate here about who won this draft. And so, hold on. Before we go into our debate, I just want to go around. We're not gonna interrupt anyone. Who won this draft? Me. I'm gonna go with the Washington Redskins. Caleb, who won the draft?
First, I would like to say I have to actually give an explanation for this first one, then I'll give my real answer. The Indianapolis Colts won this draft because, as Pat McAfee announced so passionately on the air, they drafted future Hall of Famer Johnny Okereke. Okereke. Pat McAfee single-handedly stole the show by announcing the third round pick for the Colts, and that literally won them the draft. Because according to him, they drafted 10 All-Pros this year.
Insane.
Insane.
Love that man.
2 last year, 10 this year to surround Stanford nerd Andrew Luck.
If you haven't heard the clip, go look at the clip. It's one of the best things you will see in a very, very long time.
Caleb, who actually won the draft?
I think it's difficult. There was a lot. From year to year, I usually think there's like one extreme winner.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of deep drafts this year. I guess if I had to pick one winner, honestly, come back to me. I really can't.
Are we going
Team.
It has to be a team or just anything?
Team.
Okay, well, if I'm going to pick anything, because I just got to say it, Cliff Kingsbury won this draft.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. Not only did he get the quarterback he wants, he's showing that the organization has so much faith in him that they're willing to trade their top 10 overall draft pick to another team for not that much and use the number 1 overall pick to get exactly what he wants. This is Cliff Kingsbury's organization. Right after he got there and even coached a game, he sees that, and it's amazing. For him, I don't think it's a good idea, but the Buffalo Bills won this draft. I mean,
we're not explaining. So Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
Who won, Malad?
I mean, who do you think? The Dog Pound, Cleveland, Believeland. That's all I have to say.
Jordan, who won the draft? Cardinals. Okay. I'll explain later. All right. So we have 3 biased picks.
Dom, who you go first?
I said Redskins. Caleb, who do you have winning this draft?
I was actually gonna say the Redskins. I think that because they had my favorite pick, and then I also think that what they did was, now that I can explain, now that we've all shared, what I really loved about what the Redskins is, again, I explained earlier, I thought they were gonna go up and get Dwayne Haskins. Instead, they used that draft capital they kept to go up and get a guy that could have been a top 10 pick had he not had that misdiagnosed health issue. So I think they got their potential franchise quarterback and one of the best defensive players in this draft and didn't have to give up that much draft capital. They had someone slide to them and made a power move. And for that, I think they won this draft.
Here's the thing. I don't think there's one team that wins a draft. I think there are a lot of teams that can be winners in a draft.
Yep.
Because there's not just one great prospect in a draft. There's so many great prospects in a draft, and so many teams can win. I do think the Redskins were winners. I also think the Buffalo Bills were winners. Yep. Ed Oliver was a guy they needed, and a guy who they loved, and a guy who was going to be so good for them. Ed Oliver was the perfect pick for them at 9. They got so lucky that he fell to them. I think Cody Ford was a great selection in the second round. They need offensive line help. You saw what they did in free agency, that their top priority this offseason was offensive line help, and now they picked up Cody Ford to help the offensive line to protect Josh Allen. Third round, Devin Singletary. You heard what they said about him on draft day. He is mini LaShawn McCoy. Who should mini LaShawn McCoy learn from? How about the real McCoy? How does that sound? That sounds pretty great to me. The real Slim Shady. You look at another third-round pick we took. Dawson Knox, tight end out of Ole Miss. I think that was also a great pickup. Tight end was a position we needed. I think it was great for them to pick that up. Great draft pick. I also love Voshon Joseph, 5th-round pick. He runs hard. He hits hard. He's fast. He's just got to be a little bit better of a tackler. And he's a prospect. He's a 5th-round pick. You got to work on him, but he's got a lot of potential. And I think we did well with some undrafted guys as well. We got a guy out of Texas A&M who's a hard hitter at linebacker. We got David Sills, who is going to be a great slot receiver one day if he reaches his full potential. And we know I love Tyree Jackson. That dude is raw. Yes, we have our quarterback already. Terrible. He's probably going to end up playing tight end, but if we can get Tyree Jackson to play tight end, boy, is he going to be special. Malad.
Okay, look. I think the Redskins won this draft. I think the Bills won this draft. I think they were all winners of this draft. But I think the number one winner of this draft won it a long time ago. You know when, Caleb? Let me explain to you when.
It's going to be
There
when
was
they
a trade-
traded for Odell Beckham.
Not just Odell Beckham. Olivier Vernon.
Vernon's
defensive end that they need.
overrated.
Listen,
Vernon is
Hold on.
extremely overrated.
say
in a lot.
overrated all you want.
Okay.
Who did the
overrated.
Giants get? Who did the Giants get?
Zietler?
Zietler. Then 17. I mean, we talked about how we didn't like their draft. They got Dexter Lawrence,
Who's good?
He's good.
Dexter
Yeah.
Lawrence is really
O'Shane
nice.
Zamines, and
He's good.
Jabril Peppers for Odell Beckham and Olivier Vernon. Okay? 2 guys that are going to compete right away and catapult this Browns team. Okay? Now, let me start with the 7th round pick, because I actually really like this pick. Donnie Lewis out of Tulane at corner. In the 7th round, for that value, that was a pick of
So how
mine
many
that
te-
I liked. Look,
Fine, well, I'm not gonna.
Look,
Like, come on.
we need depth in the secondary, Caleb. Donnie Lewis in the 7th round was a great pick. Everyone was saying it. It was a solid pick for depth, and it was a high-value pick. He fell because he was at Tulane, so teams think he didn't have enough competition. Okay? Look, Drew Forbes at offensive line. We didn't need offensive line, right? After the 4th round, we were just picking whoever we felt like picking, and they were still value guys.
Stop right there. I'm going to disagree with you right there. Mac Wilson in the 5th round was a huge pickup for the Browns.
I
Huge
agree with
pickup.
you. Mac Wilson out of Alabama. Okay, complain about his attitude. We've seen so many guys complain about their attitude and turn into
I said it on the
stars.
last podcast. Any Alabama linebacker is the safest pick in any sport.
Who
ever.
else
We
you
had him
want?
going in the first round.
Correct.
Exactly. Mac Wilson in the 5th round.
Any
Are you
Alabama
kidding me, Caleb?
linebacker is the safest pick in any sport ever. It's that simple.
So many teams had Mac Wilson. So many mock drafts had Mac Wilson going in the 1st round. Guess what?
Why are you looking at me? I didn't say
In the
anything
5th
about Mac
round,
Wilson.
in the 5th round, we actually got an okay kicker. We didn't get a bust kicker. We didn't get Matt Gay like the Buccaneers. Okay.
Kicking contest in Cleveland. Let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be a contest, okay? And we had terrible kicking last year. That was probably the reason why we were above 500, if you think about it, because we had some terrible kicking issues
The reason
with
you-
Zane
I can
Gonzalez.
say 2 words.
That's Saints game. Come on now.
No, 2 words of why the Browns missed the playoffs. First one starts with an H. Second one starts with a J. Hugh Jackson.
Correct.
Continue.
I agree, but if they made field goals, they win games. I mean, come on now. Saints, that game was winnable straight away on 1 field goal, okay? They went and fixed safety, Sheldrick's red wine, okay? You guys don't like Sione Taki. Fine. That's 1 pick, okay? Greedy Williams, they traded up to get him from 49 to 46.
Great pick.
They traded a meaningless pick, and they got a corner out of LSU who's going to be across Denzel Ward. And teams like the Ravens, who got Hollywood in the draft, teams like the Steelers, who might still have some wide receivers, even when we play the Rams, who have a lot of wide receivers, we're still going to be able to have our secondary intact. You have Morgan Burnett back there. Come on now. The additions that this team has made, it's been an overhaul, and they got a lot better fast. So that's my winner.
Jordan, why'd the Cardinals win the draft?
Okay, so along with what I said about Kyler Murray and how I didn't like his pick, I think Kyler Murray was a good pick. Okay, I think it's still a great pick. That's all great, but obviously you know my opinion. But I also think that Byron Murphy, number 33, the pick in the 2nd round, I think he's really good from Washington. I also think Andy Isabella, he's amazing. I think
Great pick.
Massachusetts, I think he's experienced. He's played 4
Spectacular
years
pick.
at spectacular player. I think they won the draft. I think, I just think they picked well.
Absolutely. I don't know how Hakeem Butler fell that far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they nailed most of their picks other than the fact that,
They drafted Kyler Murray first overall.
yes. And
Well,
And that's
assume
what I said.
they didn't have Rosen, right? Because they wanted
Yeah.
to trade him either
yes,
way.
if they didn't have Rosen, that would have been a great pick. But
Okay, so-
it feels like their last year's draft was wasted, as Caleb mentioned.
Mhm.
Redskins, as Caleb already mentioned, Haskins, I think most of us can agree Haskins is the best quarterback in this class.
Right.
Weak quarterback class, whatever. Alex Smith is hurt. Case Keenum's,
Garbage.
yeah, he said it. I just
I'll come out and say it. I don't care.
They traded up to get Montez Sweat, who is one of the best players in this draft. Wide receiver, Ohio State, Terry McLaurin. Bryce Love.
Bryce.
Great pick.
Great
so
pick.
listen, if,
I've said it before and I'll say it again. If Bryce Love is healthy and stays healthy, he will be the best running back out of this draft,
With
and it will not be
Adrian
close.
Peterson?
and Darius Geis,
Are you
That's
kidding
going to
me?
be an insane backfield.
how about that?
Insane.
And then they go out. What's his face? Sheriff. He's getting old, or he's coming up on a new contract. They go and they draft 2 of the best offensive guards in this class.
Pierce Bacher's a great pick.
Yeah, Pierce Bacher.
I don't know much about Wes Martin, but Pierce Bacher's a great pick.
Yeah.
And then linebacker. They need some more depth there with the leaving of Zach Brown. Kelvin Harmon.
They got Kelvin Harmon in the 6th
They got
round.
Kelvin Harmon in the 6th round. He's one of the
Who
best.
fell?
One of the
Why
best.
did he exactly?
One of the best jump ball receivers in this draft.
How did
So-
Kelvin Harmon fall to the 6th round?
And I mean, the rest of the drafters drafting for depth. So I mean, this was a great draft by the Redskins.
Kelvin Harmon.
They fixed almost all their needs. Only had to trade up. They traded their 2nd round pick, which wasn't a big deal, and I think they traded a 3rd round pick next year to move up into the 1st round to get Sweat. So the Colts will use that pick. Fine by them. It's going to a team in the AFC.
It was a 2nd round pick next year. It's
Oh.
a 2nd round pick next year.
Okay, so Redskins did a great job. Can't really say much more than it, other than the fact that they got better.
Okay, I have 2 questions about the Redskins. The first one, who's the starting quarterback week 1?
Haskins.
Okay, then number 2, where do they finish? What's their record and where do they finish in the division? I mean, you don't have to say their exact record, but do you think they make the playoffs?
I think they finished 2nd in the division.
Okay,
Who?
No, 3rd.
the Redskins.
I think that might be better than the Eagles this year.
No,
They
absolutely
might be.
not.
Their defense showed a lot of promise last year. Their offense is only going to get better.
Landon Collins was
They
a hell
need
of
a
a
wide
pickup.
receiver too.
Landon Collins was a hell of a pickup, but the Eagles are still. They were the Super Bowl champions a year ago. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
You
I
can't
mean-
say they're going to be 3rd.
No, because I mean, listen, I've been trying to tell people like off the record, hey, the Eagles are still Super Bowl champions,
Correct.
and people who's like, oh, Super Bowl champions, it still matters.
Yeah.
I still think they might finish 2nd, because I think we can all agree Dallas Cowboys will probably end up winning this division. As much pain
Probably.
as it
Probably.
takes for us to say that, they're one of the best teams in the NFC. This team was 6-1
Yep.
when Alex Smith got hurt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They were 6-1.
Adrian Peterson's their X factor.
And
Adrian Peterson's
we all
their
know
X
X
factor.
Factor.
Yeah,
Tom and
I
I just
looked
looked at
directly
each
to
other.
the line.
We know Malad likes to use the term X factor, but look, if AD is AD, if he really is all day, he's gonna bring them to the playoffs. But
Okay.
he's still older.
The biggest question surrounding the Redskins, I really think, is where's Josh Johnson going to end up
Oh,
after
God.
the end of last season?
Okay.
Oh, Josh
Uh,
Johnson.
So-
Long live Fleet.
So I just want to quickly preview
Press F for the
the
AF.
Patriots division. Okay.
Let's
So
talk
I
about the
wanna say
AFC
something.
East.
Look, I'm gonna
Here we go.
Josh. I just want everyone to know at home that the person speaking right now is not Josh. Okay, because I might sound a lot like Josh after you hear what I have to
Why?
say.
Because you're both wrong most of the time.
Look, listen. This Bills team quietly
ready.
plotted for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick to slowly go on the downhill. There has to be one team that takes that
Damn right.
vacant spot.
Damn
there
right.
has to be one team.
The Jets?
That's right. Nope.
It's not the Jets.
I got it.
Now listen.
Nope.
That's right.
Here's the point. The
Jets
Bills.
here's the thing. The Jets are doing the same thing. We're just doing it better. Continue.
I agree. So the Bills first. I mean, you sent me that video, Colin Cowherd discussing his 3 things to build a winning franchise or a
Yes.
Super Bowl team. Right. The first thing was getting a quarterback.
First thing is get your franchise quarterback.
They believe in Josh Allen.
Sam Darnold.
Josh Allen is the guy, and he is better than Sam
If he
Darnold.
Sam
stays-
Darnold is the guy.
If he stays healthy, I think he's better than Sam Darnold, and it's not even
If
close.
Sam Darnold stays healthy, he might be better than Josh Allen.
No.
Okay, so they got their quarterback.
Josh Allen already owns the Bills locker room.
They got the quarterback.
Maybe Sam Darnold already owns the Jets
Not
locker.
even close.
Defensively, they've been upgrading. They've been slowly getting better on the defensive end.
The Jets
Look.
slowly upgraded on the defensive end.
Look, LaShawn McCoy did not have his best season last year, but he's still shady. We all know who shady is at the end of the day. Okay, they went and got Frank Gore, and now they brought in Mini Shady McCoy. Okay, so their running back core is good. Wide
Okay.
receivers are getting better, especially with David Sills. You know,
David
that
Sills was a
undrafted
nice
free agent.
pickup.
This
The
team,
Jets wide receivers are slowly getting better.
I'm telling you right now,
Hey, Jamison Crowder.
Look,
the team,
No, the Bills
team,
and the Jets are doing the exact same thing, and they have a
Exactly.
great plan. Their plan is rise as the
As
Patriots, fall.
fall.
I think
Yep.
this season the Patriots still win the division. I think next year is the year it's up for grabs. But we're slowly rising. We're slowly going up. And I think that we're doing a better job than the Jets are. Because I think you build your O-line before you build your receiver core. Because when you build your strong O-line, you see your quarterback have time. You see what he really can do because you need the time before you need the talent.
The Bills' offense struggled last year, especially when, injuries happen and so on and so forth. This next few years, you're going to see a team not named the Patriots win the division. And in my opinion, obviously the choices are the Jets or the Bills. Miami, we all know the problems going on,
Dude,
right? We
free
already
Josh
talked about it.
Rosen, man.
Hashtag free Josh Rosen.
I think the Bills are the team to watch out for in the next couple years. I think they're the team that starts winning the division.
Look,
I really love their coach. I really love their
Sean
mentality.
McDermott
and
is
I
a
think they're
god.
a solid team.
Here's the thing I want to talk about when we talk about the Bills. Here's where people are wrong about this team is when you evaluate the Buffalo Bills as a 6-10 team. That's wrong. It's the same thing I say about the Cleveland Browns. You don't evaluate the Cleveland Browns as a 7-8-1 team. You look at them as a 7-7 team. You have to look at the Bills as a 5-5 team because the only 10 games that matter from last season for the Buffalo Bills were the 10 games that Josh Allen played the full game. Because you look at now that we have a strong offensive line, Josh Allen should play 16 games. So that could probably be a 500 team. And then you look at what we added on the defense, you look at what we added outside for Josh. We really could improve. This could be a great year for the team, and I'm excited to watch what we can do.
I agree. I think that ultimately, look, we're sitting here, we're talking about draft winners, draft losers, bad picks, and that's what's crazy about the NFL draft is you never know. We could be completely wrong and miss on a lot of what we're saying, or we could be 100% right. And the thing is, we really just have to wait and see from here on out. That's the exciting part. Is the NFL draft is the best draft in sports.
It's not close.
It's not close.
Correct.
It's 7 rounds, and you have guys throughout all 7 rounds that are talented. You get guys like Tom Brady, who are Hall of Famers, picked in the 6th, 7th round. You have guys picked first overall who bust. It's a spectrum, and you have different things happen to different stuff on both ends of it. So I think that for here, we really just have to see.
All right, I just have one thing I need to mention before we wrap things up real quick. We were talking about Josh Allen and Sam Darnold. I think they're both very talented quarterbacks. I think they're both very good. Here's the thing to me that separates Josh from Darnold. I just sent Dom a video of this. This is one of my favorite videos I've ever seen. Week 2, Josh Allen's first career start against the Los Angeles Chargers. Bills are down 28-13. And you see Josh on the sideline right after we scored, hyping up the defense, getting them really excited, getting them ready to go out, being a true leader in his first career start in the NFL. He already owns the locker room. He owns his team. Everyone on this team believes in him. The second we signed every single free agent we signed this offseason, the first call they get is from Josh Allen. You can't coach leadership. That is the one thing you cannot coach. Josh Allen has it. I don't think Sam Darnold has anything near what Josh has.
I agree with you, but wasn't that also the game that Vontae Davis retired at halftime?
Yes.
The guy retired at halftime. What leadership are we talking about?
If you don't want to follow Josh, you can leave.
That's not Josh's
That's
problem that he retired.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying,
If you don't want to follow Josh, you can leave.
What is Josh supposed to do in that situation? Nothing, because that's not his decision.
I agree with what you guys are saying, that the Bills and Jets are both on the rise, and they both could end up making the playoffs, possibly winning the divisions in the future. However, I'll end this podcast talking about 2 things. We are still
Allen is tall.
We are still talking about the Bills and Jets, teams that always fail and always will.
This is different.
And we're still
an accident waiting to happen.
They are. So
this is different.
We'll end this podcast on that note. I'm Dominic Stern on behalf of Caleb Posner, Josh Golden, Malad Gaimi, and Jordan Goldman. Thank you for listening. Maybe we'll be talking about some baseball or even some NBA playoffs later in the week.
The NBA playoffs. Sorry.
Or
Dom.
NHL playoffs even. I've been
That's
watching
right.
some NHL.
Hey, Dom. I see you.
Penguins got swept, man.
So did the Lightning.
If you're still listening, thank you
The
for
one
tuning
Tampa
in.
Bay organization that works.
Clearly doesn't work. They got swept by Columbus. Continue.
If you're still listening, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.
Hashtag free Josh Rosen.